After waiting a fair few years, I finally had the possibility of visiting one of our favorite British watchmakers based here in Staffordshire, in the Peak District. There is a gem of a watchmaker. Craig and Rebecca Struthers are actually making all their timepieces in-house here in their workshop. We're gonna go and try to show you all the secrets and all the details. Hey,
hi,
Craig.
Pietro. Nice to meet you.
Nice to see you. Thanks for having us. Thanks for having us. How are you?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Yourself?
Yeah, very well. Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome to our small workshop.
Thank you. You're very busy these days?
You're very busy. Yeah. I wouldn't say too busy. I think we're lucky to be busy. We appreciate it. But,
and you just moved to this workshop relatively recently, no? After being in Birmingham before.
Yeah, I think it's been about 2 years. In the jewellery quarter, we had a lot of things around us, like bullion supplies, and sometimes we do it with other jewellers. And here, there's not the same sort of thing, but we've adapted to sort of surviving without those things, and maybe doing a few more things ourselves, or still working remotely.
Was it more a personal decision for you guys to move here in this particularly quiet part of the country?
Part of it was we'd already moved out to the country, but before COVID the commute wasn't too bad, and then after the commute the time scales just got longer and longer, and when you're spending 3 or 4 hours in the car, you kind of think I could be at the bench.
Yeah. And from my perspective, when I came here and I visited the area around, it feels very much like when you hear about the Watch Valley in Switzerland. So a quiet place in the middle of nature, where you can find the light and the calm, the tranquility to be able to actually, how can I say, carry out a profession that is out of time in so many ways. Yeah,
completely. I think there's even some they do actually call some of this area Little Switzerland, but I mean it's a very loose term. But
we've just been to Ireland for the festival time a few months ago, and in Waterford, where the festival happened, it was the area where nearly all the Huguenots that were escaping Geneva nearly set up the new Geneva back in the day. It never happened, but maybe this may be the case.
There's always a start for a new scene, isn't there? So that's cool.
So talk me through. Of course, you and Rebecca have been developing your art in a number of years. So you've been acquiring different machines from the present, but mainly from the past. How have you organized the workshop?
I think part of it is how I've accumulated these tools is through having probably not huge amounts of money to start the business originally. So we'd kind of find what we could at the right price. In our first workshop in Birmingham, we just had one 8mm lathe. We were only doing restoration to begin with, and I mean, even with one lathe, it can be quite limiting.
So with your work in restoration, you knew when you set up as obviously watchmakers in your own terms, you knew the machines you needed, the tools you needed, the parts you needed. I can see some obviously foreign languages as well here, so I can guess.
I mean, this machine, obviously it's a Pietro lathe that we use for case making, but part of the motor and the control, the speed control, is from a German milling machine, I believe. So yeah, the mixing things up and getting things to work, and the actual pulley on the back of the machine is from something completely different. But you kind of know what you want and what you need to make something happen, and we'll just try and find what we can, where we can, and make it work. The good thing about this machine is it runs at a low speed, and so during my scholarship I learned how slowly the turning was, and it kind of makes you can almost watch what you're doing within a sort of a humanly possible timescale. So you can see, I don't know, it's more visible at what you're cutting and how much meat you're taking away. I mean, obviously we measure, but I mean, at high speeds, you suddenly lose that.
And to put things into context, I mean, you, as always, being very humble about it, but the the idea of making your own cases is something that is as rare as complicated. In Switzerland, where a full ecosystem for watchmaking exists, of course, arguably, I have witnessed a couple of watchmakers being able to do that. In England, where arguably England is still the second, I think it's the second country for independent watchmakers in the world, but it actually, people making their own watches is a completely different story. And the idea of making cases adds to the sophistication and the complication. Was that something that comes obviously from your jewelry making background only, or was something like a precondition you wanted to have in Struthers?
Rebecca's background is jewellery before she did watchmaking, and I don't know if you know, we entered as a small competition to it was for platinum actually.
Yeah, with a Stella.
That's it,
Stella.
correct, yeah. And I think at the time we did this design, we sent it off and we didn't think anything of it, and then they said you've won the design award, now you need to make the watch. And part of the problem was, even being in the jewellery quarter, we asked around thinking, oh, there'll be someone to help us make the case. But I think firstly being in platinum and secondly a watch case, I think a lot of people just thought the time scales, a lot of people haven't been made watch cases by hand, even in the jewellery quarter, since the sort of 60s, 70s. I think the last place that made watch cases there was probably about 80s or 90s. So we just thought we need to try and do it ourselves. So that's,
and of course, finding the machine was key to that step.
We didn't do it on this machine to start with. We did it on a little 8mm lathe, and it was terrible, to be honest. But I mean, we got there in the end. But it wasn't the way to do it. But it was a very stressful time, and we finished the watch, and we both thought, let's not do that again. But after the dust had settled, I kind of thought, actually, I quite enjoyed that. Now I can look at it with like helicopter vision. I can look at it and think, this is a nice thing, we made that, let's see if we can do it again. Yeah,
and it's the most valuable, one of really the true differentiation points, being able to make your own cases. Still, I think in Switzerland, probably 99.8% of the watchmakers would not bother making the case themselves, but
I can kind of see why.
Of course.
It's very time consuming, and like I said before, mistakes in precious metals aren't a good thing.
Yeah,
quite a stressful thing.
That's the other point. It's one thing is to find the right machine from the right period of time. The other thing is operating the machine correctly and accurately. I guess. It takes trial and error is part of the game, in that sense.
Yeah, definitely. When we do case making, normally we don't do. Well, I find a point where I can do a couple of weeks of it without doing watchmaking. I know some people can just switch from one thing to another, but for me, I have to know that I'm doing this for a week, and I won't be on the bench, and then I can really get into it and do a few cases. And then I can shut the door.
Do you get different background music or different?
We just have, to be honest, we just have the radio on. If Rebecca's not in, I might listen to something weird and wonderful on musically, but not that she doesn't like music. But Rebecca, I think she's more tranquil, likes to work in quieter surroundings.
In a calm environment.
And I like a bit more chaos behind me. But
so take me through the rest of the workshop. I can see another.
Yeah. So basically. The majority of the case making is done here. So traditionally it's using boxwood, where you glue basically make the rings of gold, glue them to the boxwood, and then you turn the different steps and dimensions, and then you heat it up and you can take the ring off. And
so you literally place the ring outside of the
just I think we've got it's a bezel. I mean, this is only, in fact that's what I'm working on. That's a gold case back, but
I can see here at the end,
just as an example, so once that's glued on there, you can then work it and then heat it up, and it comes off basically. But the good thing is, every time you put a new piece of boxwood on the lathe and you turn it to fit whatever you're putting on, this is obviously every time it's perfectly concentric. Whereas before I was using like chucks to hold the parts of the case.
In terms of at the end of the process, to understanding and gauging if a part is acceptable, like here, I suppose, you know, on a back ring, or this looks more like a back ring of the case. Is it all by eye, by your own eye?
If you've been doing watchmaking a long time, I think your eyes get trained to sort of, even things like jewel sizes, you become more, it becomes easier to find, even in a little pile of jewels, you kind of get to know sizes. Not perfectly accurate by eye, but you'll be in a good ballpark. And it's the same in case making. You begin, and with your machines and the types of cutter you're using, you tend to sort of begin to feel how much you might be taking off.
Yeah, so you have no digital assistance, you don't use CNC, and everything starts and ends by hand, basically.
On here, at the moment.
Machine help.
I think for the future, it would be, I can see the benefit of doing it, so I'm looking to introduce something like that. But at the moment, we're still doing it this way. Soldering area, again, finishing, very basic, small jewellery bench, but everything we need to sort of finish cases and resolve issues.
So this is really the cases department, if you want to call
pretty
it.
much, yeah. I mean, this is just a very basic pillar drill, but it's great. I mean, this is what we used to drill holes in the case band to fit the lugs, and the pendant for the winding crown. It's got speed control for. It's very useful with precious metals, knowing what speeds to drill at, or mill, because they can be they can be tacky sometimes, and obviously carbide drills are very prone to snapping at certain speeds, so that's useful.
So build the shape, finish the shape, and then drill in the shape.
Yeah, drill in the shape. Sometimes before we actually put the donut or the ring or the first part of the case bezel onto the machine, we need to flatten it. So this is a great way of keeping things flat. There's many different ways of making a case, but the good thing about using this, also feel like when you, it's almost like you're hard burnishing the metals as well. When you're giving them a good strike in here, it can help harden. So there is that to it as well.
Brilliant, perfect. And
Cool.
then the main room
rely on a lot of, I was saying earlier about old machines, similar age, incredibly accurate. If you think of how old these are, I mean, they're amazing machines, and they really are good at what they do, milling.
Rebecca often mentions on how a perfection of a watch can be seen by how easy it is to take apart and put back together. And there is a fascinating aspect on machines as well that allow you to create those parts that then become the watch. Equally charming, in so many ways.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we have to take these machines apart. We service them ourselves, so again, taking the machines apart, you can sort of see how different.
Because you couldn't send it to the supplier to get service, could you?
Not at this age. I mean, these are. I think they're probably the most modern lathes, and they're probably 1970s.
And that's again something you have learned step by step, trial and error.
Yeah.
Acquiring machines, seeing how they would behave, and seeing then what they needed in terms of perform the best.
I think in the past, especially not long after I left uni, I'd just buy different lathes and think of them for doing different jobs.
Yeah.
And then you kind of realise, well, individually they're great, but you can't swap parts or adapt them to do many other different things. Whereas if you have sort of 3 or 4 the same with all the accessories, you can then start to really, each one then becomes, it can morph into different things.
Yeah.
So again, this is something we've adapted for wheel cutting. It's again the same as those lathes.
So here we are purely in the horological part making.
Yeah, basically, here is the majority of work. In fact, I'm standing in front of this one. So this one we use for snailing. So it's quite a substantial lathe, but it only does one job. So finishing and snailing on this lathe, milling. This one was adapted by us to do wheel cutting. So it's basically the same as these other lathes. But we've added an overhead drive, a mill. I've got a little engineering company to CNC some indexes. So based on our tooth count for our watches, we had the indexes made up. And
so it was intuitive for you to understand that this machine could have been adapted to what you needed it for, which was wheel cutting at the time. Although the machine wasn't
meant for that. No.
Yeah.
It's I think I to be honest with you, I didn't really know where to start. So using old watchmaking books and looking at pictures of how they used to wheel cut. Yeah, it took be honest with you, it took a long time to get it to work well. I think ideally it would have been better to do wheel cutting on a larger machine because less vibration, more solid, but we've actually got it spot on now on this tiny little machine, so it can be done.
In the process of your restoration work, where you
the beginning,
you set up and you got all the machines to do the different jobs that were needed.
Yeah.
That brought you then to the point of being independent at all levels to be able to create your own watches.
Yeah, it's like it's a natural way of evolving, really. I think. Restoration really does provide that path because it forces you into doing the next thing. I need to think about how we can do it in-house or in our workshop, and that's when you start to think, well, I need this machine to do that, and you just keep adding until hopefully eventually you can do most things. I mean, I suppose it's about patience and perseverance and how much you want to do within restoration.
Which degree of liberty did you take within the restoration process when it was the only solution was to actually make a new wheel or to make a new part as opposed to restoring technically an older part that was unusable? Do you have criteria for that, or it just depends on case by case?
No, it's really interesting because some of it also depends on, I probably would say, the budget. I mean, because you could spend huge amounts restoring a watch, especially in the intricate details and making parts that haven't been made for a couple of 100 years, and parts which even if you go to engineers to make it don't know how to, or would have to produce a lot of setup to make that part. And it's the same with you in your workshop. It's not something you just walk over to a machine and it's done. It's
an interaction with the client.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, I can see obviously the rest of the workshop. Tooling, no? Tooling is a big part of it.
It's not just here. We have lathes and mills and other machines at home. In storage as such, some of them have been retired from the workshop, but other ones I kind of keep in mind for bringing back here. Most of these at the moment are fine, but this 6mm lathe might get swapped out soon, so nothing's permanent.
Yeah, so the workshop actually is a living thing that constantly evolves depending on the needs. Yeah.
Definitely.
And in here, the most important part, which is the humans behind.
Yeah, the benches.
It's amazing.
These lovely benches were made especially for us. Rebecca's on this side, I'm on that side. Occasionally, I might move to her bench, or sometimes to my bench.
Yeah. And the case making.
But I suppose most of the time we probably don't bring bits around to show each other. We say, you need to come around to the bench to look at this and tell me what you think. And so we do sometimes discuss parts or what we're doing at one bench.
Yeah, yeah.
But I still have a really old vintage microscope. It's not an electron microscope or anything, but
over there.
The old Nikon. But it's still, for me at the moment, for what we do, it still does the job.
Yeah,
if that makes sense. And we have old antique machines like the topping machine. Rebecca has this. It's a very old gear cutting machine, which I think one day she hopes to produce a Verge watch using that, if possible. But we'll see. I think we need a lot more time, and which is a big luxury to us, obviously, probably to most watchmakers. I think time is something that they struggle to find enough of.
As I'm here interviewing you, I'm very conscious of the fact that we're taking that time, so it's really a very living things. So these machines are machines that you have acquired in the hope perhaps to be able to use them in the future on some special projects.
We use some of them now, and some of them would, as we're moving into the second edition of our 248, we're working out how we can use some of these machines in different ways. So probably not in the way they would have been used originally. So maybe for some sort of polishing pinions or finishing.
So there is an amazing amount of time as well that you'll have to spend in research of finding the next machines you'll have to use to be able to evolve as well, again with the demand that you're having. And you said there is another part of the workshop that is under construction and development.
It's a bigger space, which is we're struggling with people in this sort of small area. It's great for watchmaking, everything's where we need it. But we're opening up a newer space for clients, especially when we're talking about designs and the watch we're making for them. It'd be nice to sit down, big coffee table and spread out and talk in a relaxed environment about.
I can tell you're not mentioning watches because every single watch that is produced, because of the time that it takes, it tends to go out directly and quickly to the client. So, but maybe one day there will be something like a Struthers museum.
That's the aim. I mean, we certainly want to move towards us having our own piece, which would be really nice because, like, everyone expects you to see you wearing one of your own pieces, and that's fair. I understand that. It's just trying to backpedal, catch up with ourselves, and then slowly try and fit it in.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the plan.
Well, thank you for taking us into your den. For me, it's been such an enriching experience.
Thank you for coming. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Congratulations on your work, and I can't wait to exchange some words with Rebecca as well to get her point of view and perspective on the work you're carrying out here, which is so special in so many ways. Thank you, Craig.
Thank you very much, Pietro. Cheers. So
the opportunity to show the project 248, of course.
This is our first completely in-house movement, which making every single part for that pretty much ourselves.
Again, back to probably the hobby thing or interest. They can, the enjoyment is travelling to a different country and meeting the watchmaker and being in their workshop and talking with them and the process of creating something together.
For the exchange, there is an element, of course, that we've been gifted with having access to your book, Rebecca. On the back of years of studies, you're probably too humble to say that, but you've become one of the biggest experts in watchmaking in the country, and you are educating with your goodwill of sharing.